our international presenter. I still don't know what that means, but I just use it because it's written in front of me. Talk's international presenter, Maddie Hale, is with us. On a serious note, 'cause we never really mentioned this, actually. You do a lot on, like, our YouTube channel is pretty massive. You do a lot on there as well, and I think the clue is in the word international, so your kind of area of expertise. This was the same when you were back home in New Zealand. The same thing happened then.
Australia, for anyone listening, for anyone who's not watching, I did a massive eye roll then.
Every time. So it's going to be the same gag every week, Maddie. It's never going to change.
Nothing against Kiwis, but just get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. But this was always your area, international policy, particularly with a focus on American politics and what goes on Capitol Hill and beyond.
And what's going on in Capitol, Ian, is something you wouldn't expect.
Go on.
It's the big topic of this week is, should transgender people be allowed in female bathroom or male bathrooms in Capitol? So we've got new Congress members coming in January 3. Obviously, Donald Trump will be sworn in January 20, but these new Congress Senate members will start their jobs around then. One particular woman, transgender woman, Sarah McBride, she will be sworn in and start working. She will represent a congressional seat of Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. It's one of the biggest seats she won in the state.
Biden's neck of the woods, of course.
Biden's neck of the woods. And so she's
a Democrat, right?
She's a Democrat.
Of course she is.
She's a trans woman, and basically this prompted Nancy Mace, a Republican congresswoman, to basically introduce this bill to Parliament that said, I want to ban people, transgender members, from visiting the female bathroom.
Yeah.
So she thinks that you have to go to the bathroom that represents your biological sex.
Okay.
So this is the first time in the United States they've had a transgender member of, well, I guess government in general.
Sure.
So this is kind of a targeted attack on just her. So naturally it's sparked...
It's tricky.
It's tricky stuff, and it hasn't been passed or anything. It's just an introduction bill, and then it will go to the House. But House Speaker Mike Johnson's actually backed it and said, look, I do think that we shouldn't allow transgender people in.
I have a bit of a problem with this, because if the other day I did that thing at the gym of nearly walking into the female changing rooms.
Oh,
you know,
God, mistake.
When I say nearly walking in, I mean I just headed.
I went in and said hi.
I mean I didn't get in there. I wasn't undressed. I didn't get that far. But
I'm actually gagging. Can you?
What I thought, isn't it interesting? I don't know what the policy is of that particular gym, but I bet you if I went there to the reception and said, look, been coming in for a long time, I now identify as a female and I want to use the female gym, I got a feeling they might say yes, I can do that.
Yeah, I really don't know. And as if
I mean, how do you feel as a female if a bloke walked in with a beard?
If a bloke walked in with a beard, I'd obviously be really
so it's down
uncomfortable.
to looks then?
Well, I mean, I'm not so opinionated on this, but the reality is that not many people are walking around Capitol. This is just pretty much just members of Congress and Senate and whoever else happens to be there. So it might just be one person. And the argument is that these are closed off stalls. So, like, why does it matter? Her argument is that no woman should feel uncomfortable. She's a rape survivor, so she feels quite strongly about this. Obviously, if a man walked into the bathroom when I was in there, I would feel a bit uncomfortable. If a trans woman walked in looking like a woman,
but if the person
don't think I'd care.
Well, here's the thing. But if the person looked like a woman but was just a cross-dresser, not with no intention of being a woman, but liked to be called a woman twice a week because that was their thing, how would you feel about that? Because that's different, isn't it? Because I am compromised on this. We used to have a woman called India Willoughby on the programme, and she would come on, and India is trans, and did a complete kind of 180 in terms of politics. Used to be quite right-wing, became very left-wing and radical, and seemed, in my own honest, humble opinion, sort of lost all sense of perspective, and frankly, in my own humble opinion, became an absolute nut job, and said some horrendous things, particularly about me and others. But, you know, each to their own. And I used to argue in her defence and say it would be ridiculous that India should be made to use the men's loos. I mean, that would be also stupid.
I do think
that would be ridiculous.
It would be ridiculous for
I didn't
her.
even know India Willoughby was a trans woman until about an hour after I first interviewed her.
Yeah, but you're damned if you don't, you're damned if you don't. So what What are you,
but
so what
on
the men
balance,
are doing?
so it would be ridiculous in the same way. You know, are we saying that the other way round? Because the argument's never had the other way round very much.
No, exactly, and
so on that basis, I don't know, Cher, as in the singer, Cher's son, who I think used to be her daughter.
No.
Or was it the other way around?
Oh no, you're right.
You're right. You're right. On that basis, that who looks every bit like a bloke, and quite an obvious, quite masculine bloke, that bloke should walk into your changing room then.
I mean,
possibly with a manufactured willy.
I'm kind of like, why would the men want a woman in their bathroom as well? Because in a male bathroom, you know, it's not as closed off as a female bathroom. You've got the urinals, so it's not as private. I think that I don't care. I don't care. If you want to go to the bathroom in the women's bathroom, by all means, if you're a transgender person, I don't think I care. Okay. But I don't want, obviously I don't want a man in there. If anything, I'm like, I don't know, it is uncomfortable. And I understand her point of view. We're living in a time where women are more vocal about, you know, injustices, and we're more vocal about assault.
But also, there is such a thing as places for women and places for men.
Yeah, of course.
We've got a clip, have we not, of Nancy Mace?
We've got a clip of Nancy Mace.
So this is the Republican who is not happy about sharing a bathroom with what she would consider another bloke. Let's have a listen.
So what is this?
This says you can't erase us, Nancy. Well, then you shouldn't try to erase women. I have to say, for any man that wants to be in a woman's restroom, bathroom, dressing room, locker room, absolutely not.
And the crinkling and the little sound at the end was Nancy there ripping down the poster.
Ripping down some posters against her.
Throwing it into the bin. It is, you know, for many people it's a no-brainer. For others it's a little bit tricky. I just looked up a picture of Sarah McBride, who I think if you met Sarah McBride you would assume that was a woman.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, I understand the argument of, you know, what are you looking at, kind of. Does this person look like a male? Do they look like a female? But you know, I understand that this does feel quite targeted. This is the only member of Congress, the only member...
That's the tricky bit, but there must be other people that use the bathrooms, though, is it?
Yeah, of course. I'm sure there's
other
people
members of
in
staff.
there. I'm not quite members of staff, but right now this probably feels quite targeted to her.
I think I sense that the problem is actually the wider trans debate, and I know I always say this, probably sound a bit like a stuck record. I've done this job for 20 years. We never ever talked about any trans issues up until what feels like half an hour ago, and it never came up. Never came up. Even when, you know, one of our, again, something I always say, Nadia won Big Brother, okay, years ago. Girl called Nadia, trans woman. Nobody even referenced it. Never came up. If ever it was going to come up, it would be
because
that.
Because it's been completely politicised.
But what's happened now, it's been politicised. We've got a gender kind of identity cult. We're not talking about trans people here. We're talking about gender fascists who want to say, I demand to be called this. I demand. I'm going to go into a woman's... I'm not really a woman, but I fancy being one. I'm going to mess it up a bit. I think that it's that kind of thinking that screwed it up for everybody else.
Yeah, and there's just, it's obviously been brought into debate and brought into elections, and the sporting arena kind of obviously, I think, exacerbated it quite a lot with allowing
absolutely,
transgender.
or things like that. Yeah,
but
things like that.
With this, I mean, if I was a member of Congress, I think I would just want her to be comfortable. Like, I just wouldn't want. This is it can be a cruel life. You know, wouldn't want to make it any worse for someone who's been an elected official and is probably, you know, excited about making a bit of change, as lame as that sounds. But this is the first bit of news coming out of the new Congress year. Like, how embarrassing is this?
Well, here's another bit of news. Matt Gaetz. So Matt Gaetz was originally meant to be Donald Trump's Attorney General, but there was a problem.
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing. Obviously, we know that Donald Trump's been tapping his administration. He's been saying he wants Elon Musk to do this random government efficiency thing with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's got various other people he's already tapped for his administration. He's kind of steered away from what he was doing in 2016. He wants a clean slate, wants new people. He said absolutely no to quite a number of old people he had in his administration. But Matt Gaetz is was now a Florida congressman. He's always had a bit of a semi-bad rep just because there's been sexual misconduct allegations against him for a number of years. But
Doesn't help.
But he's been managed to kind of, you know, keep going with the job because nothing's been found. Donald Trump then said, I want him as the Attorney General. Now, the Attorney General, the role of the Attorney General is a huge role in the United States. You oversee the Justice Department, and we know that, and as well as, you know, law enforcement in every sense. You are one of the top positions.
Yeah.
And the debate from the Republican Party for years and years has been that the DOJ is quite corrupt. It's you know, biased towards the Democratic Party. So this would be quite a big role for someone in Trump's administration. So basically, he was tapped for it. He then resigns from Congress, from his seat in Congress, which is a bit of a scandal because it means that the Ethics Committee no longer really needs to release their review into these sexual misconduct allegations, because before they kind of potentially had to because he is a sitting member of Congress, because it was a House investigation. And then he's resigned, and then people are writing about Donald Trump. Why would you make this guy the Attorney General? Like, he's cast such a bad name over the Republican Party. So then clearly behind closed doors, that's happened, and Matt Gaetz has just decided to withdraw. Well,
he had to withdraw. What I think Trump did here, Trump thought, look, I've had to battle the establishment. I've got loads of ongoing court cases. Yeah. Most of them are going to be kicked into the long grass while I'm president. Yeah. A couple of other issues. Some of the allegations against me, true or false, by the way, are a bit, you know, not very pleasant.
Well, I can tell you what they are.
But with Matt Gaetz, did he go as a way of almost trying to reduce the severity of what he's accused of, employ somebody like Matt Gaetz to say, look, I'm not the only one, you know, who's having to face establishment nonsense. This is what I think of the judicial system. I'm employing a man who's accused of sexual indiscretion.
Potentially, but that is risky business when the House can very much release the findings from their report at any given day.
Yep. And
the vote was 5-5 over whether to release them or not. And if they released them and it was found to be incredibly incriminating, what would happen? That looks horrible for Donald Trump, that you should be putting people in place that don't have these kind of allegations. And these allegations are that, you know, first of all, members of Congress have spoken badly about him on both sides of the political aisle. These are that he potentially had sex with a minor, that he was being investigated for a separate thing for sex trafficking, that he, you know, took drugs in front of Congress members. It's just really bad stuff. He's now engaged or married, or, you know, he's married.
You can't be the Attorney General with all that going on. Even if you're a diehard Trump supporter, you'd have to go, Donald, come on, mate.
Exactly.
That ain't going to work, fella.
So he withdrew, and then and Trump released a statement basically being like, he's done the right thing, and now he's tapped someone else, Pamela Bondi, I think her name is.
Okay, there you go.
And she was a former Florida Attorney General.
She was, wasn't she? Yeah, she's got a legal background.
Yeah.
Listen, Maddie, thank you. Say hello to everybody on the 10th floor.
Don't tell people where I work.
Oh, sorry. Say hello to your family in Wellington. Thank you to Maddie Hale. Back with us next week on Talk.